for those of you that don't know me, my name is Philip Galatic, and I am based in Brussels, in Belgium. I managed for one of the clients to achieve even 2,000% ROI, just a single video ad back in 2015. I've helped numerous other clients get hundreds of leads. Um, good and bad. You don't always, you can't get 100%, good lead rate, but I got them at a kind of an unbeatable price compared to other PPC platforms. And that's why I really am kind of like an evangelist of Facebook ads for most entrepreneurs and for small businesses, as they really provide the best bang for your buck. So compared to Google Ads, they're cheaper and you can do more with them. You can reach clients and you can basically align the ads with more stages in your business than with, for example, Google Ads. Compared to other platforms, you get feedback really fast, and the analytics that it comes with that is quite robust and can give you a good idea of what is working. So that's one of the reasons that a lot of people use it for business idea validation. And I just think that even if you are, even if you're a brick and mortar business or relying on other channels, I think that Facebook ads have a place in almost every marketing strategy because they don't require a lot of investment to give you something in return if you, of course, do them right. So enough about that, enough about me. Feel free to ask me questions at the end of the webinar. I'm not sure how many of you worked with Facebook ads before, but a lot of people who work with them don't actually know, can't really tell very clearly how Facebook ads work. So we're just gonna go through that very quickly. What is it all about? Well, before that, I will tell you that another reason that Facebook ads are good to use if you're an entrepreneur, a small or medium business owner, that nearly 1 billion people use Facebook on their mobile devices every single day. So this is, unquestionably a gigantic opportunity for you. Why? Because, well, just because the wealth of different profiles of people on the platform is so huge, you can't really find such a collection of people elsewhere. And also, the tools built into the ads manager on Facebook allow you to really pinpoint your message to the exact people that you want to, especially if you're doing retargeting. But we're going to be saying more about that later. Um, yeah, and even in 2015, already the average time an adult spends on digital was outperforming radio and TV. Nowadays, it must be even more because, as we know, time is limited. People, I would say that this is guaranteed that people spend a lot more hours, on digital than they do on radio and TV today in 2017. Um, what's important to note is that Facebook ads are not just simply Facebook ads. So, sure, you might think about them primarily as newsfeed ads on Facebook, but Facebook ads is actually a whole network of placements, as Facebook calls them, that includes, classic desktop ads, both in the newsfeed and in the right column, mobile ads, which are the mobile version of the desktop ads, uh, and then since recently, since about a year ago, we also have Instagram ads that you manage from the same place as classic newsfeed ads. And also there is something called audience network ads, which is basically a collection of placements that Facebook guarantees and ensure that Facebook ensured for their advertisers on partner apps and on partner websites. So they also have different forms. You might see them sometimes while you're using your favorite app as an interstitial ad, or if you're reading an article, you might see it as one of the native ads at the end of the article that are pretty much on 99% of articles today. And also, yeah, since recently, Facebook also introduced Facebook Messenger ads, which they actually recently renamed into sponsored messages. But it means that you will start seeing more and more ads on your Facebook Messenger if you use it, and a lot of people use it. So if you see one, surprised. It's still not, it hasn't taken great hold yet, but I'm sure marketers will catch on pretty quickly. I know that I am actually experimenting with this placement for some of my clients. Um, so I can let you know what the experiment results are once it's done. Yeah, so this is just to show you what these different formats look like. Placements actually. Audience network, as I said, we have native, we have banner, and interstitial. And an important part of how Facebook ads work is, of course, having a business page on Facebook. You virtually can't run ads without a business page, except the right column ads. So that's the only placement that you can use without a business page. But there's absolutely no reason not to have a page, as the creation is super easy. It takes only a few minutes at most, and you can get started right away. Facebook wants you to create it in different stages of your ad creation if you forgot. So you really just need to follow their prompts, and you'll be ready to roll, basically. Of course, if you have a page already, that puts you, in front of the pack, so to speak, as having an engaged audience on your page definitely plays into how well your ads are going to perform, as Facebook already has a history of people interacting with your content, and then it can more accurately match your ads to the right type of people who are more likely to take the actions on your ads that you want them to, and in turn that drives down your costs overall. And that's exactly what I'm going to be saying more about next. So how do Facebook ads really work? Well, generally, the more relevant Facebook predicts an ad will be to a certain person, the less it will cost you. Facebook always tries to, balance out the interest of the potential interest of an ad to a user, and also it also tries to balance the interest of the advertiser who wants to get the ad to as many people as possible for the lowest costs there is. So, for example, let's say Karen is a 25-year-old woman who lives in, let's say, Seattle, and the first thing she does each morning is open Facebook. Um, at that point, hundreds of advertisers are competing to show ads to her and to other people like her that match her demographics, interests, all these traits at the moment that she starts looking at her newsfeed. So they're targeting people who are female, around the age of 25, who live in Seattle, and so on. And then Facebook, what they do is they weigh, based on different factors, how interesting Karen will find each of these advertisers' ads, and how likely she would take an action such as clicking or making a purchase after seeing the ad. Uh, After making all these considerations, Facebook determines which advertiser will win this auction, because basically these are all auctions. And finally, Facebook shows Karen the winning ad in her newsfeed. So in the end, let me just go to the next slide. In the end, this is just one. out of all the people, out of all the ads competing to reach her. The ad auction works the same way for ads shown on Instagram and Audience Network as well. That's important to note. Um, but at this point, you might be wondering, well, what are these factors that Facebook takes into account when they do this consideration? Well, they try to calculate something called total bid, which again is made up. It's a sum of your monetary bid, if you will, with ad relevance. So your bid is the maximum amount you agree to pay for each action you're targeting the ad for, whether it's impression or click or conversion, and you set that up when you're creating the ad campaign. And that's something that you can actually control. So you determine what your uh, top top level of bid is. But on the other hand, there is something that you can't control directly, and that is called ad relevance. Um, and well, this ad relevance is calculated from different factors, but um, it can be boiled down to how Facebook expects people in your target audience to take action after they see your ad. So if you're targeting the right people, they will be more prone to, let's say, click through to your website or convert or purchase on your website, and Facebook will assign a higher ad relevance to those people, which will increase your total bid. So you can do either things. You can either increase your bid or your ad relevance. Uh, but since you normally leave your bid, in most cases, you will be using automatic bidding, and you will control your costs via daily budget. That means that there isn't much for you to do with your bid. What you can do and what you should do is focus on increasing your ad relevance. Facebook actually doesn't really release the full list of factors that goes into determining the ad relevance, but you can uh, you can probably what it usually is about is um, whether people have a history of interacting with your brand, with your page from before. That definitely helps ramp up your ad relevance. Whether the message matches their interest and their niche, and yeah, also typically one of the factors that counts is how well your ads performed in the past, and also how many disapproved ads you've had before. So sometimes in some niches that are kind of hard, that are difficult for Facebook, for example, like weight loss, a lot of ads get disapproved in that niche, and because of that, you might get a lot of disapproved ads, and unless you delete them, that will send a bad signal to Facebook algorithm, and your ad relevance will be, on average, lower. So you will have to compensate by maybe spending more. The bid, I just wanted to mention that the bid um, that you set is usually the maximum amount you end up paying for that outcome. But often you pay far less than that. So that's one of the good sides of Facebook ads. So uh, just a quick comparison between Facebook ads and Google AdWords. Obviously, Facebook ads are paid social, while Google AdWords are paid search. Um, then Facebook ads, when you work with Facebook ads, you really bid on audience, while on Google AdWords you bid on keywords and search terms. Um, with Facebook ads, you can cover all phases in your buyer's journey, which is very important, while Google AdWords usually just covers the consideration phase. So if you want to convert people to a sale, or if you have already been, you know, um, warming up your leads with other channels, then Google AdWords are the good are a good avenue. Furthermore, Facebook ads has its own set of restrictions. For example, certain niches, as I said, such as weight loss or maybe pain management, um, that can be a little bit more difficult to get ads approved for. And also, the classic 20%, the infamous 20% text requirement for images in ads, which really has marketers, trying different creative solutions to this. While on the other hand, Google AdWords has restrictions like typically when you work with search ads, you will have low character count for your message. So if you're a copywriter, that can be quite a nightmare in order to get a quality message across. And also the quality score is more complicated than the Facebook's total bid. Let me just adjust my mic a bit. There we go. Furthermore, on Facebook ads, you pay either per 1,000 impressions or, as they say, CPM, or you pay per on certain objectives. While on Google Ads, you pay strictly when people click on your ad. And lastly, last but not least, the cost of Facebook ads is generally lower per click than for Google ads. Um, Maybe it's a good idea to mention that on Google AdWords, one of the most expensive keywords is, I think it's insurance, and it costs $45 per click. You won't find such a high cost per click on Facebook. So I think overall, while Google AdWords has its own merits and your marketing strategy should really not only focus on one single tactic, I think overall Facebook ads provide a little bit more potent package than Google AdWords. Really depends on the niche. So there we go. That's how Facebook ads really work in a nutshell. Again, if some of this wasn't clear, you can ask me at the end of the webinar. And now I'm going to move to the anatomy of Facebook ads first, and then I'm going to show you how actually you go about creating an ad. So maybe you don't know, but Facebook ads typically have 3 levels in their structure. The first top level is called the campaign. So it typically matches your particular goal related to an offer. For example, getting people to sign up to your webinar. Um, and they further break down into ad sets. So ad set is a level where you determine your audience, you determine your budget, you determine your placements, and you determine your optimization method. And that's a quite important level. And typically, that's where you split test or A/B test different audiences and placements. So that's something to remember. Finally, each ad set can contain one or more ads. In some situations, you would want to have one ad, but typically in each ad set, I normally have between 2 to 3 ads, not more unless I really have a huge audience. Because if you're testing more than 2 or 3 ads at the same time, you probably won't have a statistically significant result of the test, especially when you work with smaller audiences. That's that. So you can see on this picture how it typically looks on the structural level. So first you have campaign, and then you can have also one or more ad set, and each ad set can then be broken down into one or more ads. Moving on, how do you actually create a Facebook ad? I'm sure that most of you tried at least once, so maybe this is a little bit redundant, but for those of you who didn't, you go typically to the ads manager in Facebook, which is for me, I use that way of creating ads on Facebook the most. Of course, there are other ways. You could create boosted posts right from your Facebook page. You could choose other objectives on your page as well, such as promoting your call to action on your page, promoting your offers, that kind of stuff. Or you could use the more advanced version of Ads Manager called Power Editor. But in most cases, Ads Manager on this address is the place you want to go. Um, once you open it, you will see something like this. I'm really sorry if it's a little bit blurry, but don't worry about it. You can check, you know, at your own leisure later. And this is actually a new screenshot that I just got today for this webinar. Um, that's one more thing to have in mind. Facebook continually really improves the platform. In the last year or year and a half, they really started adding an incredible amount of new features and improving the user interface, even the design. So before that, I had the old dashboard, but nowadays, when you open it, you will have this new dashboard that is based on tabs. So it used to be quite unwieldy to get from one level to another in the previous version, but now, just like in Power Editor now, actually, you can quickly switch between different levels, campaign, ad set, ad, and even account, just with a click of a button. And then you can typically see all your campaigns names here. You can see some basic stats here that you can then also change by clicking this drop-down menu. So you can focus on different groups of statistics that matter to you, and you can add your own columns. So that's pretty nice, and it really gives you a quick overview of how your campaigns or ad sets or ads are performing, and you can always get even more info when you choose one or two campaigns or more and click on one of these buttons on the right hand side. So that's new, and it's actually, as I just said, copied directly from Power Editor, which already had this kind of interface. Once you I forgot to mention, once you are ready to create an ad, you should click on this green button here. And once you do, you will be presented with this menu. It's nicely now Facebook has decided to nicely split the objectives based on the buyer's journey. So you will find in the first column objectives that matter when you are in the awareness stage with your audience, with your leads, your potential buyers. Then in the middle one, you will have objectives related to building consideration for your product. And finally, in the last one, conversion. So it used to be a lot less optimized than this, and Facebook has really made it easier for entrepreneurs to choose the objective of their ad that really fits what they're trying to achieve right now. So if you're just in the stage where you're trying to get the word out about your brand, about your business to as many people as possible, you might want to optimize for reach. If you're building consideration, you might want to funnel traffic to your website that you can then also use to retarget people. Or one of the kind of bread and butter techniques, it's kind of a pro tip of mine, boosting posts, or in this case, in this menu, it's called optimizing for engagement. By optimizing for engagement, you can quite directly warm up your audience and really build and warm up the audience before you take them to the final consideration phase. So by using content marketing and Facebook ads, you can quite nicely build authority and build trust and build a relationship really with your future buyers. And you can filter those that are not good prospects from the ones that are in this way quite easily. So once you have also named your, once you've named your campaign, you will be taken to the ad set level. Here is all the fun stuff where you first determine the audience of your ads. You can target them by location, by age, by gender. That's all pretty typical vanilla vanilla targeting, language even. I typically always, I work with clients from the US, so as they want to target people that are, in the US as well, I typically choose English here as well because it does help you eliminate people who might be there but not speak the language actually. So then also you can target people by demographics, by interests, by behaviors as well. And these are quite very important. These are quite important for narrowing down your audience. So just by focusing on the top top selection, you won't get very far, but you will have to use a combination of demographics and interests probably to when you are dealing with cold audiences at least. Let me just find something. Um, yeah, this will be important later when we will be speaking about laser targeting. Then you choose the placements. Nowadays, Facebook even offers you to leave the placements to the platform itself, as they have an automatic way of optimizing which placements perform best for you, and then keeping them on and turning off the rest. But if you want to play around, I really just suggest that you always include the mobile newsfeed. Also, audience network is a good placement to have because it really adds a lot of reach to your ads that normally might be limited. As many people might have a Facebook account, but they might not be logging in exactly every day. However, if you target them on the websites that they read, or on the apps that they use, you basically don't lose that opportunity. Um, so this is something to pay attention to for sure. What's important? What I wanted to add here. Yeah, normally you don't see it on this screen, but you are able to choose Messenger as also one of the placements. Once you've done that, go on to the budget. You can choose daily budget or a lifetime budget. I typically use daily budget, as historically it has performed better for me. If you have a longer period of running an ad and you have a lifetime budget, sometimes Facebook slows down actually your reach just to spread that budget across that period. But you never know. Maybe in your case, it's going to work better. So as with many things with Facebook ads, experimentation is key. And then something important to cover is how you will optimize your ad delivery. In this case, this was an ad with the video view objective. You could optimize for video views or for impressions. For example, traffic ads, you can optimize again for clicks, obviously for link clicks to your website, or you could choose impressions. Normally, the default option works best. However, I don't really normally test this that much out because there is just like a host of other settings that you need to test first, and this normally doesn't play a big difference. But when you're playing with ads yourself, this is something that you might want to test out as well. And then, it's important to note that this differs from the choice of when you get charged. In this case, you are only presented with one option, and that is to get charged per impressions. But for example, for traffic ads, you are able to pick whether you want to be charged for clicks or for impressions. So it depends on the objectives. You might have more options here. And then there's ad scheduling, which is not that important to you. Basically allows you to run ads only certain times of the day, not that useful. And delivery type. You can have standard or accelerated if you use the lifetime budget. And that basically allows you to burn money as Facebook will try to reach as many people as possible. So that typically results in people in reaching all your audience and spending all your budget really within an hour. And typically because the optimization is to reach as many people as possible, you won't get that many quality. You won't reach the quality crowd basically, and you probably won't get that many intended actions, whether it's a link click or a conversion, and so on. So that's one of my other tips for you. Once you finish all this, you will get down to the creative part, which is really the most fun. Facebook has added a lot of different formats of the ads that you have at your disposal nowadays. So apart from this typical still image ad and a video ad, now you can also create a carousel, which is typically, you see them normally in your newsfeed as a post that has a scrollable set of images with their respective links. And these are, in theory, best for e-commerces. Facebook swears that these ads have higher engagement, but in my practice with Facebook ads, I typically don't see that many good results using carousel. Again, you're free to experiment with them. They might be working in your case, and they do require sort of a higher also time investment, because just slapping any kind of image won't do. But you will see about that once you get started with that. I unfortunately don't have a lot of time to focus on that. And also, Facebook nowadays offers a nice slideshow option, which which I recommend. It used to be quite bare bones, but nowadays you can really combine images, video, and music into a really professional-looking slideshow that almost resembles a professionally made video. So that can be a nice way of building engagement and building an audience for retargeting your building an audience for retargeting people later on. And finally, Canvas, which is like a really advanced sort of like it's like a mid-roll ad, so to speak, that behaves like let's say a landing page. So once people click on your ad, they will be taken to another interstitial page that you get to create, and that page has quite a nice array of options. So you can add image, video, text. You can change the HTML completely and make it really customized. You can have again carousel images. So it's intended to really kind of provide a more advanced, more sleek way of marketing on Facebook. I say intended because generally I haven't seen also good results with that, as they are very obviously ads, and even nowadays I think there's a quite of a still resistance in a part of people who use the ads, who use Facebook, sorry, towards ads. Ad blockers are the usage of ad blockers is, I think, quite strong nowadays. So when people see something so obviously kind of promotional, you might not get what you bargained for. So be careful with that. Maybe test it first on a smaller sample of people before you maybe even make your potential customers angry or kind of hurt your brand. In most cases, single image ads work best. So speaking of images, You can upload yours. You can use the existing ones you uploaded before, and you can use Facebook's built-in stock photo gallery that is completely free, and sometimes it can be quite nice because even though you might not think think it, but stock images sometimes perform quite well. It's depending niche, so I wouldn't discount that option if I was you. Maybe you can test it when you create a campaign. You can test a stock image ad with an ad with a custom graphic, for example, and see for yourself. Speaking of custom graphics, yeah, there's that infamous, really 20% text rule. So I also am quite against adding too much text into the image. And Facebook will penalize you if you have more than 20% text in the image. So it's best to adhere to that rule. Apart from the image, you can set up your headline, you can set up your caption, your display link, and other small settings. But it's important to note that yeah, you can see that here. It's important to note that probably the biggest weight on the success of your ad will be in your image or your headline. So if you're testing ads based on either one of them, know that these are the most important. Don't worry too much I don't know, about call to action, which normally I just leave as learn more. Um, but yeah, and obviously don't test more than one part of the ad at the same time. So don't test an ad that differs in both headline and an image with the other one. Just focus on either the headline or the image. I hope that's clear. So yeah, a little bit more about Facebook ads objectives. What do you use? What should you use and when and why? Well, depends on, as I mentioned, where you are with your customers or your existing customers. Depending on their buyer's journey, you will be using different objectives. Uh, it's important here to just warn you that you can see that engagement is here in the consideration phase. However, I would say it equally belongs into awareness and consideration stage. So which one should you pick? Really depends on where you are currently. If you're just validating your idea, then probably you're going to want to use either engagement or traffic even, or yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really recommend in most cases using the first three because they don't have any specific, hard goal attached to them except just impressions, which are nice, but impressions, don't uh, really. I mean, they don't put the bread on the table, when it when it all boils down. And I'm just going to mention four objectives now that I think any entrepreneur or business can use. So first one is the boosted posts or the post engagement objective. Um, your goal with these is to increase engagement on your post and get people seeing, liking, commenting, and sharing your page content, which kind of fills their gauge or gauge. I never know how to pronounce that. I think it's gauge. Yeah. It fills their gauge with sort of brand affinity and it warms them up for the next stage. So this is quite important. Plus, since recently you can build a custom audience of people who have engaged with your past posts, and that's quite a nice. It's probably one of your top custom audiences that you can use because you have you basically zero in on people who have done positive engagement with your page in the past. Further on, something called website clicks, or now it's called actually traffic. You use it to send people to your website, to your landing page, or yeah, or to an app. And by default, your ad will be optimized to reach those people that are more that are most likely to click on your ad. Your question might be, why would you, if you, for example, have an opt-in page or e-commerce, why would you use traffic ads when you could just use conversion ads? Well, if you're just starting out, traffic ads are a better way to keep your costs down because first you need to teach the Facebook pixel about the type of people that are converting on your page, and you can do that at more cost-effective uh, way with traffic ads. You first basically need to build some kind of history with people before you convert them. So that's something to remember. Yeah, I did say that the first three objectives are probably not that useful. However, I mean, if you have a brick and mortar business, you might, and you don't want to, spend too much time or money on your Facebook advertising. You might at least want to consider local awareness ads, which allow you to target people based on radius on a map, so you can really pinpoint locally which people you want to see your ad. So if even if you don't want to spend a lot of time on other types of ads, this is something that you can invest maybe a couple of dollars a day and still get some sort of return in the long term. And finally, website conversions ads. Once you have once you've built and engaged your audience on a kind of regular basis, these people are a good they're good candidates to try website conversions ads with. So unlike the traffic ads, which optimize for clicks, these optimize for conversions, which can be anything that you really decide, but typically is either a sale or sharing their information via a forum. And they work with something called, as I mentioned recently, Facebook Pixel. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's basically like a piece of code that you add to your website, and it tracks events that people trigger on your website. So, for example, it allows you to track visitors and create audiences based on visitors to your website or to certain pages. Um, it allows you to track conversions, most importantly, and it's really like a backbone of the more advanced approach to Facebook ads. So we don't have a lot of time left, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about laser targeting your ads. As I said, you can't really affect and you shouldn't mess with your dollar bid much, and you should leave that to Facebook. And then the only really thing you can do to make your ad perform better is to ramp up the relevance factor. And how do you do that? In the past, we used something called custom audiences, and today we use a combination of either intersected interests or local targeting and remarketing. So on an example, let's say that your business revolves around pet sitting in LA. Most people might just try to target a radius on a map that they want to focus on, and maybe they will try to narrow down based on age and gender. But that won't get them far, as I mentioned, as they will still have like a big audience of more than 5 million people, and it's very hard to be sure that those people will be reacting to your ad the way that you want them to, which drives down the cost and allows you to then in turn also reach more people for the same amount of money. And some might actually use might use a combination of demographics and interests. So they might get family-based households. Um, they might target parents with children, those that are married and that are interested in pets. However, in this case, you will see that it still narrows down insufficiently to about 3 million people, which is still too large of an audience. So you might be wondering, what do you do? Uh, well, there is something called intersected interests-based targeting, and that allows you to, when you click on narrow further below this box, you will keep adding new boxes where you can add different, again, demographics or interests or behaviors. And while in the previous case, where you see you will be targeting people who have family-based households, and those that are interested in pets, and those that are married, you will be actually targeting a really wide group of people. So you want to target just those that match all of these traits. So narrowing down allows you that, and that is called intersected interests, or intersected interest-based targeting. I hope that's clear. And basically, you can see the result. Once you separate these interests, it only targets the people who have both the family-based household, and those who are, who are also married, and who also are parents with adult children, and are interested in pets. So what will happen because of that? You will have a much smaller audience that is much easier to work with and has a much greater likelihood, which is the most important thing here. It has the greatest likelihood of increasing your ad relevance and being the right type of audience that you're searching for. Or there is something called low targeting. For example, offering fitness classes. As I mentioned, I live in Brussels here, and one of the most kind of fashionable areas is called Louise. And you might want to use, in this case, radius targeting or zip code targeting. So if you use reach people near your business objective, you will be able to choose the radius, as I said, and you will be able to enter an address around which circle will be positioned, or you can, of course, draw one on the map itself, and you can decide what the size of this radius is. And that helps you to really narrow down your targeting to the right type of people. If you were to target the whole Brussels, you'd be wasting a lot of ad dollars, because you'd be targeting a lot of people who are far away from that, and maybe can't afford, might be like a fancy fitness center that has a high membership fee, and somebody from a less affluent neighborhood won't find it that useful, and that will drive the ad relevance down, and you will be paying more to reach the right people. So this is a way to bring that down. Also, you can do something called zip code based targeting. This is available for traffic ads and conversion ads. You can use zip codes to narrow down to particular geographical areas, which is very cool. Now a little bit more about lookalike audiences and retargeting. Lookalike audiences are a powerful way to use your best existing audiences, such as your existing buyers, existing customers, or your leads list, and you can use them to create a list of people that are similar to those on those lists. So that helps you again narrow down your targeting. So instead of just maybe in that case with the LA business, if you added also a lookalike audience, you would further increase your laser targeting of the ad, because Facebook has a lot of information about all of us. They're able to really use that on a grand scale to pinpoint exact people who match the traits of those that you have already working history with. And you do that by going to audiences in your menu, then clicking on lookalike audiences, and then you have this little pop-up window. You use a source. Typically, the best source to use is going to be your customer list. You can choose the tree that you want to focus on. It used to be possible to use just one country, but now you can combine other countries as well. and you can optimize that lookalike audience either on like how do you say that on likeness. So you will either focus on a more narrow but more similar group of people, or if you want to optimize for reach, you might have um, less similar people in your audience, but you will have a larger audience. But don't worry about that. It's not that important right now. Finally, retargeting. It's really like whole topic on its own. It's based on Facebook Pixel, as I mentioned, and it allows you to target people who previously visited your website or a certain web page. Also, it allows you to retargeting also now includes targeting people who have watched your videos, who have engaged with your page, who have opened your lead gen ads, and I think there's one new one. Basically, people who have some sort of history with your page or your website. A classic example is retargeting people who didn't finish shopping on your online store with an ad, and but it's really a lot more than that. So I'm not going to be able to talk in too much detail about that, but I do want to stress that it can be very powerful. And I just received news from Facebook last night that they are really expanding the types of events that you can optimize for even further. So you can, for example, target uh, specifically people who visit on the mobile version of your website or on desktop, or you can target the top 5% percentile of your visitors and so on. So they're really taking it seriously and taking it further. I might be doing another webinar on this topic on its own in the future. We'll see. And you do that by going to pixels, and then you follow first the instructions to add the pixel to your website. Oh, there's yeah. Basically, then you go to the menu and choose custom audience, and then you pick um, the kind of the parameter that you are optimizing the ad on, and you will then see a pop-up like this on your screen. You get to name your audience, and you choose whether you will be targeting anyone who visits your website or people who visit specific pages, or maybe people who don't visit specific pages, and so on. And you can also choose the amount of days in the past that you will be creating this audience for. Anything up to 180 days is possible, except for targeting page engagers. Then you can target people up to a year in the past. So that's and then once you create these audiences, you can use them as if they were any old standard custom audiences. Um, Final word about the Power Editor. As I mentioned, it's one of the ways to create Facebook ads. It's typically used when you work with ads on scale, and you have a lot of different tests, and want to quickly create duplicate campaigns, duplicate ads, and so on. Normally, for most marketers, even the normal ads manager is fine. For entrepreneurs who do yourself marketing, it's more than enough to use the ads manager. But you might want to just compare the two if you're starting with Facebook ads and see which one feels better. They used to be a lot different. However, Facebook has really narrowed the kind of the gap between them. So you can find almost all the features of Power Editor nowadays in the Ads Manager as well. And you need to use it. You can only use it via Google Chrome. This is something important to add. As I said, the differences are shrinking, but it can be useful when you're working with many campaigns at the same time. So have make an experiment out of it if you're starting out. So just to recap, why are Facebook ads a good buy, so to speak, a good media buy? Well, you're able to really pinpoint your audience, as we saw. It has much more powerful options of reaching people based on their traits as opposed to reaching people via keywords. Um, Simply put, they're cheap, they're affordable. You don't have to spend a lot to get a good return on them. At the same time, of course, they're quite scalable as well. Um, they speak to all stages in the buyer's journey. You can create powerful retargeting campaigns, and you can use lookalikes. And really, not something to forget is that it's the better platform for creatives between Facebook ads and Google AdWords, as it allows you to really use a greater amount of media, of design and visual aspect of advertising. It allows you to use all that in a much more creative, more powerful way than Google AdWords. This pretty much brings this webinar to the close. Now I want to hand the mic to you and ask you if you have any questions for me. So if you do, just type your question in the chat and I'll try to reply immediately. Yeah, um, one of the typical questions that I get asked is how much of a budget do you need for Facebook ads? Well, depends on, of course, your capabilities and your appetite. But even if you don't want to invest too much in overall promotion online, you can really get started with as low as $5 to $10 or even less if you're just boosting posts and you have one post to boost at the same time. You can use a budget of $1 a day really, and that will already be enough for Facebook um, to basically reach the right people with your post. Of course, you won't have huge scale, but you will have uh, some action started, and you will start building a relationship with those people. And especially if you have good content, this is something that I generally just think that almost any business should do. Any business that's serious about you know building awareness, building a brand, but also building their leads funnel. So Facebook ads can really help with that. Oh, let's see another question. I have had ads rejected, but doesn't really tell you why. How do you find the guidelines? I find them lacking, I have to say. Recently, I worked with a client in medical business that focuses on helping people with arthritis and with back pain, right? And it was really ridiculous how much of resistance Facebook has kind of um, has presented us with, as if we were, I don't know, as if we were trying to sell guns or something. They, of course, justified that by safely guarding the experience of their users. So normally, if you even slightly imply that the person you are marketing to might be in pain or something like that, that's a big no-no. So really, well, it's not impossible to get ads approved in those cases, but it really kind of makes you rethink your whole message, and you have to kind of use certain language. Unfortunately, you can't then directly talk to the consumer, your prospect, which goes really against the tenements of modern marketing, which really is about putting the user in the center, right? It goes against that because it makes you basically fall back to perhaps talking about your business, which is it's not recommended by any serious marketer. So yeah, in these cases, you get into this sort of twilight zone of Facebook ads. But as I said, nothing. It's not impossible to get ads approved, even with more, let's say, sensitive topics, sensitive niches. Oh, so Joe says that his target is medical as well. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, right? It can be really tough. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's another synonym for pain. Facebook is really, really kind of arcane about how people who want to promote their business that are, you know, that deal with these kind of problem solutions. How should they communicate to their prospects? It makes it all more challenging, I think. But as I said, it's not impossible to. You will probably have to spend more time refining the message and deleting disabled ads and so on. Um, but yeah, don't give up. I would say don't give up. Yeah. Do we have any other question? I hope, Joe, that that sort of helped you out at least a little bit. Feel free, as you can see on the screen, you can email me later with any, maybe you want to tell me more about your story. I can try to maybe give you some pointers. I'd be happy to. So each attendee, as a thank you for attending the webinar, will get my free bulletproof Facebook ads checklist that you can use before, during, and after your campaigns. I hope you find it useful. And a special offer, by booking a slot on this link below, you can get a free 30-minute Facebook ads audit by me, by yours truly. So I'd be happy to talk to you for 30 minutes via Skype. Typically, I talk via Skype with people that I help run Facebook ads. And yeah, I can have a look at your current situation. So even if you haven't started ads yet, or maybe you have, but maybe there's some hitches along the way, or you're not sure how certain aspects work, or you want more about the more advanced topics like retargeting and lookalike audiences, all that, feel free to book a slot. I'm available already from tomorrow, so I'd be happy to talk to you. And does anybody have one more last chance? Does anybody have another question? Let me know. If not, I'm gonna show you my email again if you wanna write it down, and you can book a slot that sets via this link. I will send you these slides within the next 24 hours. So if you haven't written down anything, don't worry. You'll be able to go through the slides at your own leisure later on. So thanks a lot, everybody. If you liked this webinar, please, I will hold one in 2 weeks again. So if you liked it and know somebody who might find it useful, please share. You can also reach me via email about more info about the next webinar. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye.